Ladies and gentlemen, away from the spotlight, India's military is spread across the world in conflict-ridden zones under the UN peacekeeping mission. Over the years, they have done us very proud, and doing us particularly proud this year is someone we are welcoming to our studios. Major Radhika Sen, the recipient of the UN Military Gender Advocate of the Year Award. She was posted in Congo when she got that award for her stellar work. Major Radhika Sen, thank you so much for coming all the way to our studios. Can you tell us a bit about the award and your stint in Congo and what got you this award?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for having me here. So my role was that of an engagement platoon commander in the Indian Rapidly Deployed Battalion, and it was a 12-month-long course. So as a part of the engagement platoon commander, it was my responsibility to get a situational awareness for my contingent commander, which I did with the help of my team. We spoke regularly to the key leaders and the local women groups, the youth presidents, the internally displaced people camp presidents within our UN bases, and we tried to get to know the concerns of the people. Over and above that, we also carried out various engagement patrols into the civil areas in order to understand the ground situation and the problems that are being faced by the people, in order to not just understand the concerns but also assist the contingent commander in incorporating the points from everyone so that a correct military operation or planning could be done in order to fulfill our primary mandate, which is the protection of civilians. Over and above our duties, we also played a major role while carrying out various employment skill trainings for the locals, which included baking, tailoring cadres for the women. It included English-speaking cadres for the children and small workshops like light motor vehicle repair workshop for the youth. We were also involved in carrying out various awareness lectures for the women and the youth of DRC on various global and the national issues.
Okay, so Major Sen, the fact is that when people look at militaries, not just the Indian military or militaries across the world, the general perception is that their job is just to fight a war. But more importantly, people need to know that the job of any military across the world is to keep the peace as well. And that is exactly what UN peacekeepers do. Now, Congo, has a long history of conflict. And in a conflict, Major Sen, the most vulnerable people are women and children. Could you talk to us about what exactly women and children go through when a conflict in a country or a region has carried on for so long without resolution, and how people like you come in, how people like you step in to make their lives perhaps a little better?
When we talk about a conflict, and especially with respect to Democratic Republic of Congo, which has been witnessing this conflict over the past 2 decades now, the women, girls and children will be disproportionately affected. They faced increased risk and abuse. This is the time when women peacekeepers come into picture.
So when you're saying abuse, you mean sexual abuse?
Yes.
You mean they being pushed into picking up arms when they are still children? You mean them being pushed into prostitution?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, a lot of such violence happen to the women, and where our role come into picture is getting to know those concerns from the women, because those traumatized women might not be able to convey their problems, their messages, or something that has happened to them to a male peacekeeper. They would be more comforting to explain their problems to us. We, being the women peacekeepers, we would be better able to understand what their situation is and then somewhere address their problems to the right organization or have a military plan which could help them, avoid all these situations. So, of course, the trauma that these women go is a lot. They are being moved from their place of residence. They have been living in the IDP camps for years now, and they do not see a future of going back to their own places. There is no food, there is widespread poverty, there is no fixed source of employment, there is no proper drinking water, no shelter, and on top of that the medical conditions are also very poor, especially in a country like DRC, which is a hub of contagious diseases. So all these problems altogether compile up, which increase it to a quantum. It becomes difficult for the people to address it themselves. This is where we come in channel, where we address their problems, we channel the problems to the right authority or the right organization which could help them to get relief from the immediate humanitarian concerns.
Any particular incident that you remember that was particularly challenging for you? I also want to know how you communicate with the people who don't necessarily speak the same language as you do.
Yes, ma'am. So with us, we have a language assistant. Whenever we move out for any engagement or we interact with the civilians, 1 or 2 language assistant will always come along with us. Another thing, what we did before getting inducted, since I had a platoon which consisted of 30 soldiers, both men and women, we tried to train them a bit on French and Swahili. So what used to happen, well, I used to go out and engage with the local people with the language assistant. My team would be out there interacting with the locals with basic, trying to break the ice, trying to make them understand that yes, we are there to know their concerns. And in case there's actually somebody in trouble, so my troops would come back to me and direct me to the right place where I have to go and address the problem. So language was initially, it took us time to get used to the language assistant part, but it was a very smooth transition for us. Like after 2 months we were very used to what exactly to do.
Any anecdotes you remember, a particularly challenging situation vis-a-vis a child or a woman?
Yes, many such cases keep coming to us. Like I remember, if you see the kind of conflict environment which happens, we not just go to the places, but we have our focal points which are in different areas. So focal points are basically, it can be people from all sections of the society who have our contact numbers and who can communicate to us directly in case of any problem that comes. So once I got a call from one of the IDP camps where I was told that there is one woman who got raped while she has gone to a nearby village, and she has a fractured leg and she's not able to move. So that was the time when we had to support her. Of course, because there was a restriction in the movement during the daytime, and we as the peacekeepers, we are not directly allowed to communicate with them. There is a separate section altogether, the women protection section and the child protection section, who helps them. So that was a challenge in an environment where I was stuck in the conflict myself. There was no internet available that I can communicate to that women protection section. It took me almost 3-4 days to get the entire communication done, arrange an escort for us, and then go to that place to take care of the women, because once we know a case, we have to direct it to the right organization. Of course, help came, but it got delayed by a few days, I would say that.
Can you tell me, we know that India sends one of the largest peacekeeping missions to the UN, and there's immense goodwill. What many people perhaps don't know, that when it comes to women contingent, we send the 11th largest women's contingent to the UN peacekeeping. Just talk to us about the role of peacekeepers, UN peacekeepers, and why there is such immense degree of goodwill for Indian UN peacekeepers.
Now United Nations is very strong at increasing the women presence because of the reasons I told you earlier. It is the women and the children who are more affected, and they are more open to us. So the target for the United Nations is to increase the women percentage to 15% by 2028, which is for the contingents. And when you talk for the other roles like the military observers or the staff officers, it is 25% by 2028. The same reason, because we want to address and extend our reach to the maximum of the population who gets affected. And India has not just, earlier we were only providing the women officers in the role as staff officers, as military observers. Now with the engagement platoon concept coming up in the recent years, we have been contributing women soldiers as well. It's been almost 3 missions that we are providing the women soldiers who are being engaging directly with the local people and getting to know their concerns. If you talk about Indian peacekeepers, we are very well known for our professionalism and our dedication towards the work that is being assigned to us. And yes, when you even go out and speak to people in the area of your operation, they are very welcoming when they see the Indian troops. So I think yes, even every mission demands us to be there.